Welcome back to the show. We've got a guest on today. It's actually the business partner of somebody we've had on in the past that Sean was able to reach out to and bring on. So why don't you give a little bit of intro if you could?
Yeah, so tonight we have Gwen Dwyer coming on. So she's coming on. She's the business partner of Chanel, if you guys remember her, based out of Vancouver. A little bit of backstory, they're both in the same schooling educational program for marketing and stuff like that. And then there's only, start off with, let's say, 10 people and they're down to 4. So Chanel decided, hey, let's, put 4 people together and see which one of these, see if all of us can build something. And 2 dropped off out of the group. And there's only her and Gwen left, and they decided to go into business together. So they've actually been in business, I believe, I'll get her to clarify this, but 2 to 3 years now, and they've never actually physically met each other in person. It's all been online remote work, which has been really cool. So we're going to have her come on, talk about her journey, her story, what she did. I know she's a mother as well, or not as well, but as a mother. Chanel is engaged, and Gwen has a husband and I believe 1 or 2 kids. So talking about, raising a family, starting a business. I'm assuming she probably went from a traditional, brick and mortar in-person job to now being solely remotely. So we're talking about that kind of transition with her, and I'm kind of excited. But yeah, we actually down here in Mexico, Playa del Carmen, we had some rain yesterday, last night, and this morning. So we needed it. Or my pool. Every time I clean the bottom of the pool out, because algae and stuff grows, it sucks the water out and goes into the sewage. So my pool's like this low right now, and it costs so much money. It takes forever to fill it up with all the little cisterns on the roof. So I've been neglecting filling it. So it's been raining, and I just keep seeing the pool rise. I'm like, the pool again.
You can actually stand it instead of having to lay down in it. It's like the water around the Florida Keys is so shallow everywhere. It's it's only a couple feet deep. You can walk way out. That's what people complain. I got a story to tell about that. I'm not sure if I want to put it on her episode, but we'll have to remember to do it the next one. I don't want to start her show off with a gross story. It's snowing here in Galveston. They only get snow here once every few years. There's enough on the street that some of the businesses are closed. And I'm like, God damn it, man. I came south to get away from this. It's way worse everywhere else. So I'm not complaining about that part. But yeah, man.
I saw on Facebook or Instagram that it was snowing in Austin, Texas. And I was like, Texas gets snow? Like, I mean, it was weird because I was living in 6-7 years ago, I was living in New Mexico for 8 months working down there. And we drove up to Albuquerque, and it was, I think it was February, March, something like that, and it was snowing. I'm like, it snows in New Mexico? Because you're just so high in elevation. I wasn't really smart enough back then to realize that, I thought just the further, it was all about how south you went. That's where it got cold. So it was kind of different. So, hey, we got Gwen on. Hey, Gwen.
Yeah.
Hello.
We're just talking about the weather like a couple old guys. All this damn stuff.
It is cold here.
Yeah.
Where are you again?
I'm in Nashville now. So I was in Memphis area. Now we're in Nashville.
I love that area. I only been as a tourist, so of course I did all the dumb things. I was down on Broadway or whatever it's called, I think, and I did all the stuff that idiots come to town to do, just go around to all the bars and shit. It was a really good time. I like that part of the country. I'm sure it's like getting super busy, but
it's like every new person that first goes to Vegas, they do all the stupid Vegas stuff and don't actually go and see the outside amenities and the Grand Canyon and all the helicopter tours and all the cool stuff.
Yeah, we haven't been. Well, my husband works at Vanderbilt now. We have not ventured down there yet. We have some friends coming to town and they want to go and have dinner down there. So I hear it's a whole thing. So I'm kind of bracing myself for that one.
Yeah, I think if you go at a decent time on a reasonable day, if you go down there Saturday night at 10 o'clock at night, you're in for trouble. You're gonna have a hard time. But
I've got 2 small children. That ain't happening.
Yeah, no. But if you go like on a Thursday at like 6 or 7, you'll be totally fine. It's really nice down there. But I remember it was one of the first places I had been in a long time where I actually had to stand in line to get into a bar, which was really strange. This was before COVID, I think. I can't remember now. I was living in Fort Lauderdale, and I had lived in Key West for a while, so it's not like I haven't been around party towns. And I remember thinking, like, why is there a line? I think they do it on purpose. Either that or it's just that busy. I'm like, I'm not standing in line for a bar. I'll just go find one that doesn't have a line. So that part was a little weird.
I think it's kind of that busy most of the time from what I've heard.
Could be.
I honestly
bachelorette party.
I honestly don't know about lines anymore. Like, I mean, I got a girlfriend and a stepson who's 8 years old. So like my bedtime's 10:30. Like I'm up at 6 a.m. So it was kind of funny. We went to Tulum Sunday night for a party. Both of me and my partner don't drink. So it was like, it's tough being around people that are drinking and you're not.
Yeah.
it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, oh my, I was so tired. Went to bed at 2:15, woke up at 8, and I was like just dead all day yesterday. Like, even though I slept for 6 hours because the timing was off my normal routine.
Yeah.
It wasn't very good.
How do you go to a party and not drink? And look, I'm giving you credit because I can't. I have to. But how do you go to a party and not drink and stay up till 2 in the morning? I would hang myself at the
Yeah,
party.
I
It's
mean, this
terrible.
wasn't like a party party. It was party in the sense of like they served alcohol and like there's a dinner thing.
Cocaine and all the usual Mexico stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I had probably 6 Mexican, security guards ask me if I wanted cocaine MDMA. I'm like, no, I'm okay, thank you, thanks. But it was more of like a tantra kind of ecstatic dance kind of party. So it was most people that they served alcohol for people that were wanting to drink, but I mean, most people were like just drinking casually, just to have like a glass of wine or a drink like that. I did see two girls like stumbling drunk, and they just looked so out of place because everyone else was wearing nice outfits, like all white and white pants and a white shirt, and they were
Yeah.
in like Daisy Duke jean shorts and a tank
Of
top,
course.
and it's like stumbling. Why are you here? It's
Yeah.
not your vibe, right?
Yeah.
So,
No kidding. That's
but yeah,
awesome.
before we dive into the crazy stories of the drinking experiences we've had in our lives, Gwen, I did a little bit of an introduction about you, kind of talking about how we had Chanel on here, how you guys met in school, started up a business together in network marketing and advertising and that kind of stuff. But I wanted to kind of just dive in, like tell us a bit about your journey, how you ended up starting your business, and what led you to becoming an entrepreneur. So maybe a little bit of a backstory about what did you do before this even.
So I have a corporate background. I have been in events for 10 plus years. I still do some events, like weddings on the side, just because I have been doing them for so many years. I still have random referrals, and it kind of gets me out of the house a little bit more. But I have two small children. So Chanel and I met when we were in school. I had COVID where I was at the time. We opened up very fast after COVID, and we were doing 30 plus weddings a year. We went that was 1.5 times what we normally did. And then, so I was just getting burnt out because I had to be present for all of that. I was at a country club, and every single member event, every single holiday, I had to be there. And my husband works in college athletics. We move a lot, and probably more than an Army family. Like, we actually have, my in-laws are in the Army, and we have moved more than they have moved. And they have been together longer than we have been together. So the last 10 years, we went from Georgia to Mississippi to Alabama back to Mississippi / Tennessee, because we were in the Memphis side. We lived on the Mississippi side of Memphis. And then now we're here. So we've moved a lot. But that's why I became an entrepreneur. I got tired of the constant, okay, well, it's time to move because we're furthering his career. So I have to start back over. I have to find a new place to work. I've got to sell myself again as far as long-term working and not really knowing how long I was going to be there, which also wasn't fair to where I was working, to be like, hi, I'm only going to be here for maybe 2 years, because that's what was happening. This position will be here for a while. And we both know it based on where he's at in his career. So I wanted to be able to have something that was flexible. And we got pregnant again while we were at our, in Memphis area. And so having a second child and having small ones, it's, I don't want them in school nonstop 24/7. We were behavior issues and that sort of thing. So being able to have them in part-time school, still work the hours that I can work. So early mornings, late nights, days when they're at school all day, that sort of thing. But being able to not have to own that to somebody else, as far as a corporate position of why aren't you on your computer at 9 a.m., hey, I had, that sort of thing. So that's actually why I became an entrepreneur. And that's why I got into marketing. And when Chanel and I joined forces, it was just kind of a no-brainer given that.
One of the things that always comes up, the question always comes up to me is I'm learning myself how to juggle my time management between work and family and, extracurricular activities and, tennis and jujitsu and all these things. Did you find that was it easier now? Is it easier now that you are an entrepreneur to manage your time with the family? Or was it easier when you had more of I don't want to say stable hours, but what times you're working at? How is the transition and how is it different? Do you find managing your time being an entrepreneur?
That's a tough one. I'm a workaholic by nature.
Okay.
I do I own another business too. So I'm a glutton for punishment when it comes to this, but sometimes it's harder. So yesterday was a really hard day. I didn't hardly get anything on my list done because my youngest is in sleep regression and took a 30-minute nap. So as soon as I was like fixing my lunch to come in and like get some stuff done, she woke up and then she was just clingy the whole day, whiny the whole day. By the end of the day, I'm exhausted. So like there are days that I have like that. I'm just now starting to like balance, getting back into the gym and doing all that. She's 16 months old, but with the move and like some other like transitions and stuff like that, it was actually harder. Like when you work from home and you can just be like, oh yeah, let me just do that. And then you look up and it's an hour and a half later and you're like, oh, it's like time to cook dinner, or I've got to go get the kids. And you have not like cleaned the house, done this, done that. And part of it for me, sometimes it's harder because I do have them in school a lot less, because it's better in my opinion, it's better for my kids. It's like I've had my oldest in full-time care and then part-time care, and she needs little people, but she also needs the freedom to be a kid and not have to sit at a table and learn the ABCs over and over and over again, So some days are harder, some days are easier. I think like for me, sometimes it's hard to separate mentally, like, okay, I don't need to work right now. Because I always have that constant, like, well, this has to get done and this has to get done. But that also comes with owning the business and not just working from home, I feel like, because I'm like, there's always constant, whether you're working in the business or for a client, there's always something to be done.
Yeah, I do miss like very little about my corporate work that I did before this. Very little. But being able to, because when I left my job, that was it. Like when I walked out the door, it was a government job, so I couldn't even take work home with me if I wanted to, because it was on a government server or whatever. So I had to just leave. And I do miss that part a little bit. Now I'm the same as you. Like I will think about stuff way into the evenings. And look, yes, we make more money now because we own it, but I can't turn it off. Like I come down here, I work on weekends, but that's okay too. I've learned to kind of, and I'm not great at this, but I've learned to figure out like, when do I feel good at working? Like when do I feel like I have energy? And then when I'm tired, I'm like, give myself a break. I don't mind a couple hours on a Saturday or Sunday if it's helping me not go into Monday and have to get hit with an avalanche of anxiety. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that, but I know exactly what you're talking about though. Like it's very gray area, and a lot of clients are like that now too. They're not exactly Monday through Friday people either. Like I'll get messages all hours of the day. So I don't know how I feel about that. I can't tell if it's better or worse, but hey, it's just the way the world works. You have to adapt.
Yeah. I think the learning curve for me at least was being able to listen to my own body. So when I first got going, even if I was exhausted, tired, I had a headache, I thought no matter what, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm just starting, I have to be working. So I was like, even if I had no work to do, I'm scrolling, looking at Facebook groups and finding leads back in the day and just like messaging. And so my energy wasn't there. So my vibration that I was giving off to my clients or the potential clients wasn't there. So really like being able to hone in and like listen to your body and like understand, okay, like I need to rest today. It's not a day that can be productive. Like, there are obviously deadlines. If it's due tomorrow at midnight and you're like, I'm just not feeling it, you have to push some effort into some things, but really, really listen to your body. And it's a bit different for you because you have, a fairly young daughter. I think you said daughter, right? So, that's two. That's a whole new, variable into the complexity of life as well. So my next question I have for you as well is because you and Chanel kind of met in school, and I don't want to butcher her words, but I think she said there's certain areas of the business that she excels in, and there's areas that you excel in. You kind of, really like fulfill each other, right? So what would be the areas that you think that you are the most that you accelerate the most in your guys' business together?
Yeah, we definitely balance each other because of our backgrounds too, but also our strengths in what we prefer within the marketing realm. So like right now, she's our SEO expert. Like she focuses on most of our clients with that. And I do more of the ads management, the technical side of our business. And so I also do the business side of our business. So I actually really enjoy that side. I mean, I love sales, and typically I'm probably the worst salesman in the world. And it's funny that I say that I like sales and I'm the worst, but I don't like to nickel and dime people. I'm very straightforward, but I'm also like, no pressure. Like, you got to do what's best for you. Like, hey, if it means cutting like our services because it's not what fits them, like we're going to do it. We're not going to try to say, you need to pay for this, this, and this, but only really one of the three is going to benefit them, So I really enjoy the backside of the business, the operation side. And that, I mean, I like ads, I like SEO fine, but in order for us to have to continue to grow our business, we can't both be working on the same thing, considering we have multiple services and someone constantly has to be working on the business and in the business at the same time. So that's kind of like the good part, at least about our partnership, is like, that's my preference, that's her preference. And so it allows us to both kind of like collaborate together on where we're going and how to get there, and then just like put our heads down and go without having to constantly be working around the clock. Because when we started growing together, that's what we were doing. We were both trying to do the same thing and like learn the different things. And then we've kind of like started splitting, and we still are splitting roles, and we flip-flopped. Like I used to be the SEO person and she was the ads person, and we have literally flip-flopped. I don't really know how or why or when. I mean, I know when it happened, but like I also don't know why. Like it just kind of happened, and we're like, okay, let's just roll with it. And neither one of us were mad about it or anything like that. It just kind of happened. I was like, all right, let's keep going.
There's something to be said about that. In the beginning, they tell you have to niche down. That was like the big thing of COVID. I never subscribed to that. I had a lot of failures because of that, because I wouldn't stick to one thing. I kind of learned to figure out what I don't like to do. So it sounds like you guys had that going on as well. You both kind of had your things, and then as time goes on, you kind of focus more on the things that you like, that you enjoy, that you're good at, and she's done the same thing, which is super smart, because people will say that, like, you have to pick one thing and you just stick with that forever. I don't know. I'm kind of glad I was scattered in the beginning, because I'm like, well, I'm definitely not going to do that. Like SEO is one. I'm definitely not going to do that ever again. And it sounds like it's worked out pretty well. And there's a lot of partnerships out there. A lot of the major companies have a situation like you two have, where one person's happy doing this and the other person's happy doing this, and then they meet in the middle.
We've learned, like we'll have clients, oh, can you do X, Y, and Z? And like, that was actually a really great thing about like meeting Sean. And like, as we've been networking and finding other marketing professionals, it's like, we could do it, but it's going to take away, like, it's going to take me 3 times as long. I'm not going to do as good of a job. And it's going to put these other projects on hold, which is going to ultimately put us behind, where it's like, all right, let's either pass them along directly to Sean and have them do it, like, or, let's try, like, we're going to get behind. And that's what we had realized, instead of like, we were just like, yes, people at first, like, yes, we'll do it. Yes, we'll do it. And it was like taking me hours. And I think that was actually part of the problem, was like working around the clock, because we were trying to figure all it out. But you kind of have to fail forward. Like, I think you do have to fail at things or do things subpar and take a step back, or realize later, like, we should probably never do that again, and learn from it. Because like, part of, becoming successful and growing is failing. Like, if you're always good at what you do you really know what success is? Like, do you ever actually grow? Yes, you may know, like, you see success financially, sure, but like, 1, can you appreciate it? And 2, like, can you actually like capitalize on it? And can you actually like speak to it to your clients and everything?
That's very true. And like, I think the hard part about, because I was the same thing too. I was a yes man, right? Like, it's like, oh, can you do this? Like, yes, I can. And then I'd be like, well, guess I got to learn this new skill. Like, shit, right? So it also comes from a place of not being as authentic as well. And it's more better just to be like, I don't personally know how to, like, when I go into meetings and they start talking about email marketing or stuff like that, I say, listen, I can give you my best, answers I give you at the moment. I do need to confer with my partner, my business partner, my email specialist, because they're the ones that handle this. So like, I don't know how to do it personally, but I can find someone that can do it for you. And that's when you look doing the outsourcing thing as well. And I think the hard part I'll speak for myself at least, the hard part of that was learning how to like release control. Because I like to, I'm not a controlling person where I control like my girlfriend or the kid or things in my life, but like I always have the mindset, I'm controlling the project and I'm overseeing it. Mm-hmm. I know what's happening. I know what's being done. So it's kind of like having trust and faith that when you find an individual to do that project, that job, that you trusting that they're going to do a good job, and be able to release control. If it works out, it works out. Awesome. If it doesn't, then you can take it back over then. It's that, releasing it, say it's out of my hands, like, the weight has been lifted. It's tough.
I feel my yes woman came from being in the corporate world, because I didn't have a choice of my clients. I just was like, yep, sure, I got to do it. Like, you got to figure it out. And granted, at that point you have more resources to, have somebody from your like, you have a team of 15 people. Okay, well, I know that this person can do it. Like within like our customer service team back when I was in sales for a sporting goods company, it's like, well, that's not me, but I know we can do it like as a company, which, ultimately that's how we've grown and started like, teaming up with other marketers that have other specialties. But like in the corporate world, you had to say yes immediately. Like, it was like, you didn't have a choice. Like, the company was like, you got to say yes, you got to make us money, and versus now it's like, I would rather say no, or let me like connect you with someone that I know and I trust and I've seen their work, because then that kind of allows us to release that like control aspect. Because it's like, obviously if you're recommending someone, you want to know that you're giving them the best possible. Or, as we hire people, it's really hard, because it's like, our name is on it. Like you want everything to, you want, and so sometimes like we backtrack when we do hire new people because we have to learn their strengths and like know the things that we really have to check on or the things that they're really good at too. And so that's been, as we have grown and hired internally on our team, like it does take us a step back, but we just have to do it in a timely fashion where we know we have the resources to help grow that person to the standard that we're both like okay with,
And speaking of hiring, how do you scout those people out? Do you just use kind of like in-network people? Or I'm assuming you start with your connections first and work your way out like we do. We've had some luck on the platforms, but it's even people that are highly rated from some places haven't been that great. What's been your experience just having to outsource and all that?
It's been a learning curve. I mean, we have royally failed forward with one hire onto our team, but that was the greatest learning experience for us. A part of it, like one of our clients, we needed an executive assistant. And so she had a connection to somebody who like basically had like a hiring agency who would do all of the filtering for us. And like we told them exactly what we needed in an assistant and what our plan was, and brought together top 4 applicants. We read through the applications, we interviewed, and that's how we hired. And it's been amazing. And there were other great candidates in that pool, but at the same time, like we didn't have to like go do that back work. Now, when we hire out for say web development, like we had like, part of it is like having that connection, seeing their work and just saying like, we need to see what you've done. Like that sort of stuff was your timeline. And part of that was like trusting, like, hey, like, we don't do a ton of web development. A lot of our clients already have web developers, which sometimes is good, sometimes is bad. And really because we're working on SEO, if their web developer is refusing to do the updates that we need to get them their progress, they're not going to see their progress. So then they don't want to continue to work with us. And so, that part has been hard, but we've learned like, okay, we need to write it into the contract. Either like your web developer will make the recommended changes, or we need to be able to bring our own web developer in and like do these things. And so part of it is just that learning curve and, starting with one thing. And if they succeed, then continuing to like grow and, refer business that way.
When I had a conversation, I think it was on Facebook Messenger with Chanel, your business partner, I gave her a great idea and she loved it too, is how I kind of vet my developers as well, is I actually created a mock-up project. So basically I just wrote a doc, like a Google Doc, and said, I need a website with this information. I want these images added into it. I want these sort of things. And it was like a very simple landing page in a sense, but I just have that as like a preset application. So what I do is I go into like Upwork, or I don't do Fiverr that much, but I go into Upwork and I'll hire 4 different developers or 4 different designers for, $100 each. And I'll say, I need you to do this project. So what happens is whoever comes back the fastest and the best, I keep them on as my developer. So it's kind of like you have to spend money and that you're not really getting anything return out of it, but it's a really good sifting and sorting tool. Is you just, you find the 4 top rated developers that are within your budget of what you want to spend. Already, you're not having to like risk giving them an existing project on a client, because if they botch it and you give them a week or two, then it's delays the process of the timelines that you've given. But if it's just a mock project that is not for anybody, it's just for you. And I think I've had 6 designers design the same website now. It's hilarious. I have 6 different versions of the same website, but it's just like it's a good processing tool to get them to see how fast, how responsive, and how good a quality they do, and then you just hire them on that way.
I mean, that's a great application process though, because ultimately, like, you do get something out of it. You get a trusted contractor versus like your investment is very low because you're not, like you said, you're not having to risk a client being upset about it. And so, exactly. I mean, I think that's great. That's a very smart way to like vet like somebody to come help you.
Yeah, but I mean, you guys, I'm just saying how you can implement that into like graphic designs. I mean, you can come up and say, hey, I need a logo design. Even if for a mock company, you just pay each designer $25 or $30 or $50 to come up with a different logo design to see which one comes back the best. Then you just keep them on for the next project. So you can implement that strategy in so many different fields of the business.
And always pay your test project people. I used to hate that. When I was brand new on this, I started on Upwork years ago, and I would do a ton of projects, like test projects. And most of them were for not pay. And I look back on that now, I'm like, those people were just assholes, And most of the people like Sean's talking about, like the web designers and everything, they work for a fairly low hourly rate anyway. So I think back on that now, So this is just a message for anybody who's watching or listening. Just if you're going to have somebody do like something intricate, like a build a landing page, throw them some money, because there's a lot of people out there that won't do that. They'll be like, oh well, they need to compete for the job. I'm like, sure, but come on, man,
No,
it's rude. Not a waste of their time, but like you're still paying for their creativity, and if they're doing something for you and you use their ideas later, technically you should have paid them.
Yeah, and money incentivizes people a lot more too, right? Like, hey, I have a quick little project. The client, I even say the client, which is me, his budget is $100. Can you give me your best design that you would be able to present to this person, right? So then I did. So you're still paying them. They think it's a real client. You tell them, thank you very much. We'll keep you in line. Let you know if another project comes in. So it's like you're not really lying to them because I am the client. So the client's budget is 100. So it's me. My budget is $100. But yeah, like you're gonna get. It's kind of like if people ask me for work. If someone says, hey, can you design something for free? Say it's a really good friend of mine or an extended client, I might be inclined to do it, but my energy is going to be. My motivation is low. If someone says, hey, I got a quick little project, $100, can you whip this up in a couple hours? I'm like, yeah, okay. Right? Money talks.
That's fair. Yeah, that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
You both have formal training because that's how you met, right? You were in, was it marketing school proper? I forget. We talked to like a while ago.
Yeah, we went through it. We did a marketing program together.
This always interests me because you can find so much online, right? Like, for example, if there's something you two asked me to do right now, I'll be like, well, I don't know how to do it, but give me a couple of hours. And look, again, like going back to what we were saying before, there's expertise is worth every penny. But there are a lot of things that a person could learn just watching YouTube for a little bit. Like I had to do some stuff on the back end of Go High Level, which I hate, the other day. And it sucked. And it took me a couple of hours, but I was able to watch. There's enough videos because people are putting up content constantly that you can kind of figure it out. But like you mentioned, it could take you 3 times as long and it may not be as great. But the information is
high level help. I can help you.
Good. I got stuff for you to do today then. But you know what I mean? Like you can find just about anything on the internet now on YouTube. How was that program? Is it like the medical world where as soon as you leave the program, there's so much new stuff out there, like you have to constantly keep up? Or have you found that the training was worth it? I imagine you're watching other people do what they do and watching videos like we do all the time, but how is that kind of going?
I mean, you have to, I feel like in marketing, because the digital platforms have changed so much. Like I had someone ask me the other day, like what I did. And I said, I own a digital marketing firm. And they were like, you're in digital marketing. And I'm not a content creator. Like I have to preface that now. Cause
that's why I hate telling people like I have a marketing agency. I'm like, no, it's not what you think. Like we do real work. We're not just, flexing and taking a picture of a candy bar somewhere.
We just set up OnlyFans accounts. That's it.
Apparently that's where the money is. So I'm not opposed to it. Yeah.
We're not doing it right, guys. And maybe I should go get my toes done or something. I mean, kudos to people making money how they want to make money, but Chanel and I like to be the honest marketers, and that is not who we are. I feel like you constantly have to learn and grow. And so with us doing Facebook ads, they continually, Meta continually changes the backend platform. I mean, there's stuff that we learned 5 years ago that we have to go back and sometimes it's stuff that you don't do often. Meta will change the interface. And we're like, where did this go? So that's when we'll collaborate. I'm like, hey, where did this go, Chanel? This was right here 2 days ago or 3 weeks ago when we were onboarding this other client, and we have to dig back in. So sometimes we have to refresh, or we have to Google sometimes, because it's hey, they'll do an update. And also with her being in Canada and me being in the States, our interfaces are different sometimes. So Meta's interface in Canada, so we actually had that, especially when we were back in school together, she would be we would screen share and she's like, this is not here. And I'm like, but it is on mine. And so that was really wild and an adjustment. And so sometimes that's we can't really work on the same client with ads management, because if I'm working on a campaign, she can't see it because they're not on the same IP address. And so, that was also when we started having to learn to divide and conquer, because it's we can't, or she'd have one client, I have one. And after a campaign was launched, we could go back in, or we'd have to sit on, and share. But, with SEO, it's ever changing and evolving with all the different platforms and use, just how, because of TikTok, because of, every single social, Lemonade, all of these platforms that are coming out are affecting SEO, but ultimately Google still is kind of king when it comes to where to, it'll kind of integrate with these apps and things about just web domain like authority and everything. But I just feel like you constantly have to educate yourself, whether it's 30 minutes, an hour. And it's really just like paying attention to the trending changes and stuff, which I'm sure like with web development, y'all get that as you're trying to create SEO friendly optimized pages for your clients. It's constantly like, all right, well, here's this, or like, we've got to like do a little bit more here because of these things, like because your account isn't going to have TikTok. So like, you've got to have, you need to focus more on blogs. You got to do this, you got to do that. So for us, we have constantly we're just having to be aware. And, I feel like marketing, you never stop learning, which is, if you want to be a lifelong student, it's not a bad place to be.
Yeah. I have a theory that they make these platforms just hard enough that a client can't use them. Because I'm thinking, I've dealt with Meta Ads Manager for a while, just in passing. I'm not great at it. And every time I go in there, I'm like, I kind of know what I'm looking at, but I'm not an expert by any means. I wonder, and this is just a conspiracy theory, but it's almost like with platforms like GoHilo, with everything else, Klaviyo even, it almost feels like they're making it just hard enough that a client has to hire somebody to do it for them, which is great because that's what we get paid to do. Yeah. But I'm like, I don't know, like this could be easier, right?
Yeah.
I do like that like with Go High Level specifically, there are so many videos that I can typically, like if it's something that they've changed some stuff recently and I have had to go back and watch a couple videos, I'm like, this wasn't here, or like it was here, not here, or that sort of thing. I have been able to get, step-by-step walkthrough to make a quick fix. But I mean, it's not a bad thing that they make it a little harder, but I think that also part of that goes back to like, we're all professionals and specialize in certain realms, right? And we can't do it all. And so, if we have a gym owner that needs to have a CRM, have this, have that, like they don't have time to set up and figure that kind of thing out. So like, it's a great way to, you got to contract out at some point. Like, I'm not going to pretend to build an intricate website. I'm just not.
It goes back on the trying to do everything all yourself. Even like as a business owner of a gym, like you said, they have to contract out things that don't serve them. Like I can do what my dad say, a jack of all trades, master of none was his favorite saying, but like, I am a master of some trades. But like, I can do everything a little bit. Do I like doing it? No. So I'll contract that part out, or I'll get someone else to do it because like I can do it. It's not gonna be great, but I can do it. So it's learning that kind of thing. But yeah, speaking on like, the growth and the skills, we try to kind of we'll cut this part out right here. We keep these around 40, 45 minutes, and we'll kind of start slowly wrapping it up here as well. But I guess for people that are looking into starting their own agency, that are like wanting to kind of move into the entrepreneurial journey, that have been either in a similar background to you or Chanel and stuff like that, what would be like a tip for them to kind of get started in this? Like, do you think, I guess, what would be the best tip? Would going to the school that you went to, or going to a school, would just be like learning videos online? Like, what would be a good starting point for someone to kind of dip their toes in the water and see if it's for them, really?
Would you do anything differently? We could be here for a while, I'm sure, if I ask that question.
Honestly, I probably I wouldn't go back to the school that I took. I don't think there was a lot of failing forward, because while you've learned a lot, but there was a lot that wasn't like taught. I think it could have been taught differently. I think we learned a lot, not going to discount that, but I think that there's, that first year out, there was so much that was left out of just a lot. I mean, I don't know the right words for this. Like, we learned just enough, but then there was still just enough left out that's why a lot of people like wouldn't stick with it and would not, because it's just like, you just didn't know what you didn't know. And it came back to having to like you're still learning at like such a high level, but it's time to like really start bringing in clients and do all this. So it's like, it needs to be a little more thorough. I do think that like now there are a lot of like, you can watch a lot of YouTube videos on some of that. So like if somebody like, you need to go to school at some sort, you need to be trained by a professional. You need it. We take an engineered approach to our ads management and everything. And if I could go back and do it again, I would have done that first and not the other one. But I don't think we would be where we are. So for someone starting out, I'd educate yourself, figure out whatever program you're going to take to learn or professional you're going to learn from, see what they're not going to teach you and find the missing part and do it at the same time, or do it back to back and then start your business. Because otherwise, you're going to spin your wheels, or partner with someone else that has those strengths. So whatever that, if that professional is only going to teach you how to run ads and not going to teach you the business side or teach you the sales side or this or that, like go ahead and contract that out and partner with some, like, instead of spinning your wheels on it, contract it out if that's what you need to grow your team, or if you want to learn it, so at least you understand it, and then, partner with someone. Like, I would suggest doing that. Because otherwise, like, I think you're going to be a little more frustrated, and just be prepared to, you got to figure out what platforms you really want to work with as well. Because they're all different. I'm not going to tell you to niche into a specific one. You just have to figure out what works best for you. I don't love creating videos and things like that for like TikTok and stuff like that. So like, I'm not going to pretend to tell a client, hey, I'll do all this for you. Like, I'm really good at it. I'm not, but I'll help you find someone that is.
Yeah, that's important, is knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses, being able to outsource things that, you can't do yourself or don't want to do. And I really like what you said, like, figure out what your mentor or your person that you're following for advice and learning, really look into what they're not teaching you. That's a really good thing. I've always had the concept of like, just learn what they're teaching and just like follow them. But like, I never really had it from like, like, take your step out of that scenario for a second, look at it from a third eye view and like, what are they not teaching me? I never really thought about that. So that's a really good advice on that one. Because there's a lot of times where I was like, oh, they're teaching me everything about crypto. It's like, I'm going to sit back and like,
Great example.
What are they not telling me? Yeah, I like that. Well, for everyone that is watching, for all of our millions of subscribers that we have, we're so growing the channel. What is the best way for people to reach out to you if they have questions regarding marketing, ads, basically everything that you do with inside of your business as well? What's the best way for them to reach out to you? Email.
That's usually the best. I mean, you can they can go to our website. I'm actually in the middle of overhauling it. I know Chanel mentioned we have rebranded multiple times, and we're in the midst of doing that again, just to kind of flip some of our images and stuff to make it more on point. But I think we finally landed where we're going to. So like, they can go to our website and like submit a form, or just Gwen at successstorymarketing.com.
Perfect. I got to ask too, how do you say your last name? How do you pronounce it?
How do you think?
Well, I have Dwyers in my family. Dwyer. I don't know if you pronounce it like that, or Dwyer.
The full-on Catholic Dwyers.
Perfect for downtown Nashville. Then you can hit all those crappy pubs. I got carried on a couple. That probably got my picture up in one of those places. But it was very, very nice meeting you. Thanks for taking the time. I know the whole country is like super cold right now, and it's like, what else we got to do but sit inside and talk? So appreciate it.
Don't rub it in.
Yeah, this guy.
Look at that tan over there.
Yeah. That's not a tan. That's high blood pressure. His face is pink.
But yeah, I really appreciate being on. And for everyone who's watching as well, like, subscribe, follow our channel. Gwen, it was an honor to have you on here. And I appreciate everyone being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I hope you have a great day.
Thanks. See you later.